On this episode, we catch up with Season 2 co-host Evo Terra about his life in Phoenix and what he misses about Thailand.
So if you're curious what an expert expat thinks about reverse culture shock, you'll dig this episode of the Bangkok podcast.
Sawadee krap, and welcome to the Bangkok podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who followed a friend to Thailand in 2001, and when he went back home, I became the first and only Canadian to live in Thailand, and still am. I'm the only one.
That's the right attitude to have. And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a one-year teaching contract 17 years ago, fell in love with trying to guess when the next democratic elections would be, and I never left.
Right, gotta keep on your toes the whole time.
It's hard to guess. It's hard to predict.
That's right.
It's very difficult to do.
All right, we want to say a quick thank you to one of our patrons, a guy by the name of Lars Lindell, who supports us at the show shout-out level. So stick around after we're done talking with Season 2 co-host Evo Terra about what he misses about Thailand after being away for 1 year, to hear why Lars probably is a lime farmer with an unusually long lifespan.
Interesting. That's a lot of L's there. Lars, Lindell, limes.
That's right.
Anyway, you can learn more about becoming a patron on our website. And of course, one of the cool things our patrons get is an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we talk about current events in Thailand and whatever else comes into our minds. We just finished recording this week's bonus show, and we chatted about Greg's recent adventures with some of our dear patrons, as well as my problems with Thai Netflix, plus a new trivia game segment we call Trivial Thai, where Greg and I try to stump each other with Bangkok and Thai-related trivia.
Yeah, and get reminded about how much we actually don't know about Bangkok.
That's right. That's right.
All right, well, before we get into the interview with Evo, we want to announce a giveaway. So I was recently chatting with one of our listeners, a guy by the name of Charles, and he says he runs a company here in Bangkok called Siam Barbecue that makes beef jerky using recipes from South Africa. Now, Ed, I don't know about you, but jerky is huge in Canada. Did you eat a lot of it back in the States?
It is popular in the States. I did eat it as a kid. I personally never got into it, but yeah, in some places, the parts of the country, it is super popular.
Yeah, we are like, nothing's more Canadian than just taking a fistful of dried meat and chewing on it. And I had beef jerky, we had moose jerky, we had deer jerky, like all kinds of stuff. It was sort of like a rite of passage to always have like a box or a package in your glove compartment in your car somewhere for a quick snack. But it's hard to find in Thailand, and if you do find it, it's kind of expensive. And I miss it. So I got some of Siam Barbecue stuff, and it's really, really good. And I told Charles that I liked it a lot, and he had an idea. He said, hey, why don't you give some away to your listeners? And I thought that was a pretty good idea.
Hey, I like that idea.
Yeah. So we normally don't do this. We normally don't like give away stuff or like this is not like a paid ad or anything like that. So don't get it into your minds, listeners, that we're going to start accepting advertising or anything like that. There's a million ways to do this, but we don't want to make it too complicated. So here's the deal. If you live in Thailand, because we're not going to be shipping a box of meat halfway around the world, head to our Facebook page. And on there, you'll see a photo of the jerky that we're giving away. Now, under the photo, leave a comment where you try to guess the correct answer to a trivia question. And the question is this: what is the combined age of Ed and I?
So do it. So go ahead and do it right now.
Right now? Yeah, go to facebook.com/Bangkok podcast, and the picture should be there. I've set the picture to go live as soon as this episode goes live. So you've got 48 hours. I'll leave the comments open for 48 hours after this episode drops. So for instance, if each of us were 25 years old, the correct answer would be 50. I wish I was 25, but that ain't the case. Like I said, we'll close the comments 48 hours after the show comes out, and the person who guessed the closest will get the meat, so to speak. And if there's a tie, we'll pick a winner at random, and the others who guessed the right answer will get a little gift in the mail too, as a sort of a consolation prize. Cool. So there we go. There's our giveaway. So thanks for that, Charles. And but if you want to check out their website, it's siambbqcompany.com. and really good stuff. And you know what? Kind of a little secret here. I had an entire bag of his beef jerky for breakfast the other day, and then and then I got to work and I thought like, oh, I'll have like a salad for lunch. I'll eat healthy. And then I forgot that my team was going out for like a team lunch that day at an all-you-can-eat ribs and wings buffet. So I had about 5 pounds of meat for lunch. Just a meat overdose that day. It was pretty awful.
That's funny. That is
yeah,
funny.
it was pretty funny. But yeah, thanks, Charles. So head over to facebook.com/Bangkok podcast and see the picture of the jerky there. Guess the combined age of Ed and I, and the person who gets the closest will get the meat. And again, only if you live in Thailand. All right. Well, on this episode, we have as a guest your friend and mine, Season 2 co-host Evo Terra on the show. It's been 1 year since he left Thailand, if you can believe it, to move back to the States to be a grandpappy. So we chatted a bit about what he misses most about living here, some of the culture shock he still goes through, and the observations he's had about moving back home while he's still trying to get his Thailand fix every once in a while in Phoenix, Arizona. So here is my chat with our good buddy Evo. All right, everyone. Well, many of you will recognize this week's guest, and many of you will squee with glee when you hear who is back on the show. We are very happy to have the co-host for Season 2 of the Bangkok podcast, Mr. Evo Terra, back with us. Evo, how you doing, man?
And I am Evo Terra, an American expat living full-time in... Oh,
wait. We're into a new thing now. You're merely the guest.
Right. Sorry.
Not
It's just, you know, Greg says something which I don't pay attention to, and then I roll into my stuff, right? That's usually the way we did it.
The funny thing is that when I introduce you to my friends outside of the podcast, that's also the same thing you said.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's my buddy Evo. Hi.
Thank you very much for having me back, my friend. It's been a while.
It has been, and that's why we thought it'd be cool to have you back on the show, because it has been exactly a year since you left Thailand. You left the podcast. Some would say abandoned, some would say left, but we're doing fine. And a lot can happen in a year, but it's also kind of a milestone, because I think when a lot of expats, after sort of bonding with a place like you bonded with Bangkok, I presume, and like so many people do bond with Bangkok, I think a year is sort of kind of like a psychological milestone. And it's like, oh, it's a year since I moved away. And they do a lot of thinking. And you and I were chatting, and you said that you have been thinking about the things you miss and the things you think about. And I kind of thought it'd be cool to chat about that.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for, again, for having me on it. And you guys are doing more than fine. I still listen to the show, and I love it. I love the new, having Ed on is a different personality. And that I think you guys have really focused down into the show itself. So I'm not going to sit here and pat you on the back from 5,000 miles away, but good job, man. And props to Ed. It definitely sounds fantastic. Yeah, you're right. It is that year marker, which is kind of arbitrary. It just happens to be that the Earth has made one full revolution all the way around the sun, and we sit back and go, what did that mean? What has happened in that time? Yeah, it's a good time for introspection. And I think about Thailand all the time because of things like Twitter and Instagram, because my Twitter and Instagram is still filled with people who I met, people like you and other expats, as well as some Thais that I've met that continue to flavor the things that I see. So yeah, for me, it's kind of inescapable to think about Thailand, because it's kind of there all the time.
So the biggest question, of course, then would be on a scale of 1 to, oh my God, how much do you miss Thai food?
Oh, dude, that's the number one thing on the list, right? And very specifically, a certain type of Thai food, which I'm pretty sure you might remember my favorite type of Thai food.
No, sorry, I don't.
That's okay. Lab mu.
Well, that's my favorite type of food. I should remember that.
Right, yeah, lab mu, right. So, yeah. Look, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. There is no shortage of Thai food restaurants in this town. What there is, however, is a shortage of restaurants that make Thai food in this town that taste anything like I was used to in Thailand. That's
really, is that different? Eh?
Well, it's kind of like the old Chinese food. You go to America, and I'm sure it's probably the same way in Canada and other places around the world. You go get Chinese food somewhere, and of course, it's dumb to talk about Chinese food because it's such a wide, huge country. And the same thing for Thailand. But the food in other places, they can't get the exact same ingredients, so it all just kind of tastes the same. And that same flavor all Chinese food has in America, I'm convinced, is soy. Just soy sauce, non-stop. But I have found one fantastic place here in Phoenix, Arizona, called Glai Ban. That's the name of the restaurant. Glai Ban, for those who don't speak it. I'm probably terrible pronouncing. Glai Ban, which means the close place, close house. The house is very nearby. Yep. Yeah. And wow, I don't know how she does it, but she has it down pat. The lab mu is very, very good. There's a few key ingredients missing, so it's not quite the same, but I've had a variety of dishes from there. We try to hit it like once every month or so. Really good, high-end food, not terribly expensive. This place, Glai Ban, would be one of the best places to eat in Bangkok for Thai food. It is that good. She does a fantastic job.
It's interesting we're talking about this now because there's somewhat of a, I hesitate to call it a renaissance, but there's a lot of chatter about Thai food these days. And I'm noticing a lot of it coming from a friend of mine, Austin Bush, who just wrote this great cookbook called The Food of Northern Thailand. Mm. And there's some other notable food writers and commentators too, saying about how everyone says, oh, it's Thai street food, Bangkok street food, you got to have it. You got to have the best in the world. But how it's actually now sort of become an industry. And a lot of these little stalls that you see cooking up noodles or beef or chicken or whatever, they get their food in plastic bags from a factory, just like every other stall around the city does. And so they've sort of commoditized street food. And they say that now a lot of the most authentic and most delicious street food is coming back into restaurants. So it's lost some of its allure. Also probably contributing to that is the fact that now the crackdown of the street vendors and a lot of areas that used to be bustling are now dead. So it's an interesting time for Thai street food, but I'm glad to see that at least one place where you are is keeping it alive. Yeah,
they do a fantastic job. The other thing with food is I have, living in Thailand for 2.5 years, as we did, my cooking styles changed. My tastes changed because of me going and finding local ingredients to shop for them. So now every 2 weeks I have to trek all the way across Phoenix to the next city over called Mesa. You wouldn't know a difference. It's the same friggin' thing.
Okay.
Trek all the way over there to where it's kind of this weird, Phoenix has a Chinatown, but I think it's just Mesa. And it's like more like Asia town because there's a bunch of Korean restaurants, there's Japanese restaurants, there's a lot of Vietnamese, and they have a couple of markets over there, international markets, which is really just Asian food. And one is called Mekong Market. And it's my favorite place to go, where I go get my favorite instant noodles, Mama's pork noodles. I can get those fresh from Thailand. Nice. Yeah, buy them by the case, just like I bought them when I was there. I've got a giant liter-sized bottle of fish sauce. Your favorite, Greg.
Oh, that's a shame.
I get a whole bunch of
packets.
You hadn't
brought that up. We were doing so well.
Get a whole bunch of packets of various curries that come from Thailand, and that's my every 2 weeks run by and grab my Asian food across town. Where before you had to make a big trek to go to a Western market in Thailand, here I have to make a big trek to go to the Asian market in America, which makes sense.
Are you saying you go through a liter of fish sauce a week?
Well, I may have only bought one of those since I've been back.
Jeez, I was freaking out a minute there. I thought there's something.
We don't use salt anymore. We just put fish sauce on everything.
Right.
You haven't lived until you had Thanksgiving with your turkey seasoned with fish sauce, Greg. That was amazing.
Oh, I think I've lived plenty. Thank you very much. It's funny what you say about that, because the last note on Thai food was that on episode 4 of season 3, we interviewed Pai Lin from Hot Thai Kitchen, this really, really cool lady who cooks Vietnamese or cooks Thai food in Vancouver. Oh. And she has a really cool YouTube channel. And she said now that the bane of her existence is now they put like peanut sauce on something and it becomes Thai. Boom. So they have like chicken wings, and they pierce peanut sauce on it and go Thai chicken wings. And she's like, that's not how it works.
It's close. It's close. A little further south for Thai. But yeah. It is crazy what passes as different food from different regions. So food's probably one of my biggest things I miss. The other thing that I miss is I miss not being inconvenienced by funeral.
Okay. In what way? Because there's a few ways that can happen.
It's inconveniencing in America because, we're a big country, 330 million people. People die all the time. I live in a big city, 5th largest metroplex in the country, Phoenix. People die a lot. Mm. But in Phoenix, when they die, we like to do these motorcades for the funeral procession that travels through the city, like from the place where the service was held to the cemetery. and they block off the road. We have cops in this town whose only job is funeral escorts.
That's an easy beat.
They will turn the lights off. They don't turn the lights off of the street, but they'll block a cop car in the middle of the intersection and stop traffic. So this line of 15, 20, 50 cars who were just at the service can make it all the way to the burial ground, if you will, the cemetery. And that happens, I'm going to say, if not once a week, at least once every 2 weeks. I don't drive that often. I am stopped by a funeral.
Really?
Never happened in Thailand.
That's really interesting. That's an interesting insight because I've only been in one of those before, and it was for my stepdad's dad when I was like 13 or 14. So I don't really remember much of it, but I just remember everyone was driving really slow, and I'm thinking, why aren't we going real fast? We've got these police escorts. The streets are all shut down. There's no traffic. I mean, it's not like he minds if we speed. He's gone already. Like let's get going, you know. But that is interesting because we don't do that here, and that's one thing I think Buddhists have it figured out. I mean, you just burn everyone up, put them in a bottle, good to go.
All set, right? Everybody, get yourself to the temple. I'm going to fire things up and be done with that. Yeah, but not here.
Do most people where you live still get buried when they die?
I don't know about the word most, but a lot of they're the funeral industry, mortuary. That's what I'm looking for. The mortuary industry is big. So yeah, there's a lot of money spent on preserving the body. There's a lot of money spent on picking out the casket the person will lay in so that people can come look at the dead preserved body in it, which is weird. And a huge amount of money in buying the burial plot and the headstone and all that. It is I see people on the corner at least 3 times a week if I'm driving. If I drive 3 times a week, I'll see it because I see it every single day. There is someone on the corner raising money, like collecting change with big signs, or having a car wash with big signs out front, simply to pay for funeral expenses for someone who was killed.
That's insane.
And that's not people begging. That has become the accepted way that at least some people pay for unexpected funeral expenses. They tend to be, young people who were shot or, murdered or died of a drug overdose or something along those lines, died unexpectedly. Their friends will go raise money on the street corner with signs and car washes so they can pay for a funeral.
Interesting. Wow. Second only behind the medical industry, which is now mostly funded by GoFundMe donations, apparently.
Yeah. The crowdfunding for funerals and medical expenses is definitely a big thing. It's crazy.
Burying a body seems like a tradition that's just way overdue for getting shanghaied. Like there's no reason for that anymore. That's what I think.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you completely. But both of my grandparents on my mom's side passed away while I was there in Thailand. Actually, my grandma passed right after I left when I was doing my tour in Cambodia. I found out my grandma passed, and for both grandma and grandpa. Torch, no services, nothing, just all said and done. Mom's got a 2 urns behind her TV, I believe, is where she's at, where she's keeping her mom and dad.
Right. My final joke to the world will be me in an urn with a little plaque on it that says "You've earned this," and then. But I'm my final little joke. Maybe my will. You have to keep this on your TV stand or something like that.
Yeah, clearly medical is another thing that I miss. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, I've been to the doctor a couple of times since I've been here, and Sheila, my wife, has gone through a couple of procedures, and it's just nightmarish to get appointments scheduled and then to deal with the insurance afterwards. It's just American medical system is horribly bad. People just don't understand how bad it is, but it's terrible. For
an industrialized country, the richest country in the world.
Yeah, for arguably the country that probably holds more sway and power than anyone else and touts the best medical system.
Yeah,
I hate the medical system in America, and I still do. After 1 year of experiencing it, I remember why I hated it so much.
Do you have medical insurance, like coverage?
Yeah. Through Sheila's job, we've got medical insurance, and it's good coverage. It's solid. We know we're not using low end providers, and we're also not using super high end. We're not doing anything crazy, but it's like just fighting the process and the paperwork to slog through for those things. It's just horrible. Thailand has got much, even to go to the most expensive private hospital in Thailand is still much more convenient, cheaper, easy. Dealing with insurance is easier. It's crazy. America, wake up.
I went to the Bummergrad Hospital a few years ago to get an MRI on my back, and the guy asked me to go in that night, and I was like, I can't go. I'm going to a movie tonight. My friend, can I come in tomorrow? And he's like, yeah. It was right away. And I know that not everyone can afford Bummergrad Hospital, and that's fine, but I mean, it wasn't that expensive.
No, I tell you this, Sheila needed to go get a procedure for her her endocrinologist. So like thyroid gland. It's not like she's anything bad. It's just up and down. 6 months.
Really?
For us to get the appointment for that one. To come back and get a teeth cleaning scheduled.
What?
Really great medical care. Teeth cleaning scheduled took 3 months.
Good Lord.
3 months. I don't understand it.
It's mind-blowing.
It's just it is really mind-blowing. So I don't like that. The other thing that I miss, not to make this show all about me, but we're going to make this show all about me.
Well, you're on the go.
I miss being the obvious person who doesn't belong.
Really? This is interesting because I was talking about this with a friend on Facebook today. What do you mean? Explain it.
When I walk around Phoenix, which is almost like a new city, Phoenix has had so much development in the 4 years when Sheila and I had left when we returned. It's almost brand new all over again. Okay. And I live downtown. So in downtown Phoenix is a poor approximation to being in Bangkok. I'm just saying, it's like, ooh, there's like 7 buildings. It's not quite the same. But I walk around this place and I'll go to stores, I'll go to the mall, I'll do whatever that I want to do, and I walk around, and I am not the obvious visitor. Where when I walked around in Thailand, unless I went to a Farang heavy area, and I lived over where you live in a non Farang centric area, right? And while I never felt like I didn't belong, I clearly felt like the person who is not from around these parts walking around Thailand, and I guess it makes you feel a little bit special. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but I walk down the streets here. I'm just another person walking by, where in Thailand, walking by, somebody almost stops and looks. Not always. I mean, there's plenty of Farang that are around the area, but I'm not the outsider anymore, and that's weird. It's just a different mindset.
And it's not good or bad. It's just different.
It's just very different. Yeah, certainly. It's not like, oh, I miss those days, but it's just like, okay. I miss the feeling, I suppose, and not because, again, I don't think it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's just I don't have that anymore because everybody else looks like me around this place.
Right. Yeah. Ed and I have talked about this before, and I think you and I even talked about it quickly on a show back in season 2, but I think it's really healthy for especially white men to feel what it's like to be the minority. And what we go through as a quote unquote minority in Bangkok is like nothing compared to what African Americans go through. And, historically it's nothing compared to that, but it's still different from where we come from. And I think it's a really good opportunity to learn a little bit and to sort of see a little bit what it's like when someone doesn't want to sit next to you or someone makes an assumption about you. I think that's an important lesson to learn from being an expat. It's something that you don't get living at home.
Right, you're totally right, and I think you expressed that much better than I was. It is, I don't know that it's a humbling experience, and I certainly, as you, don't think it's an equal experience to what persecuted minorities deal with, but it's at least a taste. So it makes you go, if I'm experiencing a slight amount, and it's very slight, a slight amount of discomfort, or like, what's going on in this particular situation? I'm suddenly the odd man out. I have a better understanding of what it's like for the seriously oppressed minority whose only sin is they don't look like everybody else.
Right. No one's thrown rocks at me or poured acid in my swimming pool or something like that. But it's still noticeable when someone takes a look at me and assumes that my wife is a prostitute, or tries to rip me off because they say, well, you're rich, so you can afford it. It's
right.
Like I said, it sounds a little bit silly complaining about this kind of stuff. And I'm not necessarily complaining, but because it's about as light as you can go on the discrimination scale, but it's still there.
So 2 things so that we don't end on a heavy note. Well, actually 3 things. One, somebody isolate that audio of Greg calling his wife a prostitute. I really would like to get that.
No one do that, please. No one.
Second thing, I got 2 things I don't miss about Thailand.
Okay. What are they?
Number 1, I can turn on the TV and guess what? Every channel, Greg. Every channel I can listen to and understand. There's like 7 channels I can't. Out of like 7,000 I have access to, I can listen to every television channel. Every television channel, Greg, is for me.
It's for me. It's like an audience of 1.
Oh my gosh. I don't really watch a lot of TV, but it's just like nice to turn the TV on. It's like, hey, they're talking about something I can understand. It's fantastic. That's one. And
that'd take a long time to get used to, I think.
And the second big thing is wearing hoodies again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's been cold here in Phoenix over the winter, and so yeah, putting a jacket on, putting a hood up, just because you're a little bit chilly. When's the last time you were a little bit chilly, Greg Jorgensen?
Sorry, I'm just checking the temperature in Phoenix right now. Ooh, it's actually it's 2 degrees.
Yeah, it has been flat out chilly. We have definitely had to. I think it's going to be up to 17 today. It's going to be the max.
Wow,
So yeah, it's nice to put a jacket on. So I'll ask my asking question again. When is the last time that Greg Jorgensen felt a little chilly?
Besides saying like the aircon is a little bit cold today, it was probably 6 years ago in Vietnam, in the mountains of Vietnam.
Exactly. You've got to go somewhere, right? You've got to go somewhere. And I live in Phoenix, which is one of the warmest areas of America, but it's pretty, it is. Yeah. I have 2 jackets in the closet that I think I'll wear one of those today as I go outside and not regret my choice, 5 minutes after walking down the street. Yeah,
something that I was thinking about too, and is that I really enjoy sitting in a Starbucks or a coffee shop or a restaurant or somewhere and being very easily able to tune out what people are saying around me. It's almost like ambient earphones, because I don't understand.
Right.
And I mean, if I listen real closely, I could probably pick up what people are saying, but it's just very easy to tune that out into white noise. Whereas if I was sitting in a coffee shop back home, I could sort of automatically understand everything going on around me. I think that would be really distracting.
It is very distracting. I was going to a co-working space because I work from home, and I was doing that 2 or 3 times a week. And as soon as other people started showing up, I was unable to work because of that. That background noise of hustle and bustle is gone because I'm able to understand what everyone around me is saying.
Right. It's like trying to work with listening to a good song you want to sing along to. You just can't do it. Write a story and sing at the same time.
So there you go, man. Those are the things I miss about my time in Bangkok a year in. I'll check back in a year and I'll see if I remember any of those.
Well, I'm going to send you a coupon. There's a place in Phoenix. I got it on Google here. It's called the Center for Fish Sauce Cold Turkey. I'm going to send you a coupon to that place. We'll get you weaned off that stuff in no time so you can get back to just having a little bit of salt instead.
Tastiness.
Well, interesting insights, man. You have made me feel like I don't need to go back. It's like my yearly refresher of like, should I go back here? No, I'm fine. I'm good.
Yeah, everything's good over here in the West. Keep on doing good things over there in Thailand. Just try to breathe a little better if you could.
Yeah. Well, thankfully the air is now down to only annoyingly bad instead of dangerously poisoned.
So terrible for New Year, man. That's just really, really bad in town. I felt bad for all of you who have coughs and nosebleeds because of your air. That is not a good thing. Hopefully they get that under control.
Although it's a really good excuse to just sort of stay inside all day, watch TV with the aircon on. So
yeah, that's true.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it. And I hope things are going well. Say hi to the wife.
I shall.
And the granddaughter.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun too. So, all right, brother, thank you for having me on, and keep on rocking. I can't wait to listen to this and the ongoing episodes.
Cool, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
I really miss Evo. When I first got interested in the podcast, obviously he was the host. I knew you were doing it back then. I think season 1, I was aware of it. And I listened to a couple episodes, but it was just kind of on the periphery of my experience. And then during Evo's reign, I got a little more into it. And then when you and I talked about me possibly being the next host, I got to meet Evo and hang out with him before he left. And he's a great guy. He's kind of, to some extent, he's kind of our mentor because he had so much podcasting experience even before you did.
That's right, yeah. I think he proudly waves the moniker around as an OG podcaster, which he definitely is because he was involved way back in the day. So
he gave me a lot. I mean, he had already given you a lot of advice, but since I was completely new, I'm sure our listeners will be shocked to learn that I knew nothing about how to do podcasts a year ago when I started. I knew absolutely nothing. He was just super helpful, great guy, super knowledgeable, entertaining. At his goodbye dinner, things got off the rails a little bit. I won't go into detail. I won't go into detail, but
I don't think we need to.
It was a lot of fun. Let's just say it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good. I'm glad things are going well for you, Evo, back home. And despite that, though, my lab moo is still fresher and more delicious than your lapmu. So I got that going for me. All right, well, let's get into love, loathe, or leave. That's where one of us surprises the other with a particular aspect of living in Bangkok, which we then discuss and decide if it's something we love about living here, loathe about living here, or hate so much that it makes us want to leave forever. And this week, buddy, it's over to you.
All right, Craig, here we go. So you're walking down one of the many backsoys of Sukhumvit, let's say,
Yeah.
and up ahead of you is one of the 100,000 massage places that populate this great city we live in.
I've heard of them, yeah.
Out in front of the massage place are some lovely ladies. And as you walk by, one or more of them yells out, "Handsome man, handsome man." Annoying? Or does it tickle are you flattered a little bit? Are you like, is it cute? Are you like, oh, like, how do you react? Are you thinking, oh, I know they're just saying that, but you still like it? Let's be honest, Greg. You still like it when they say handsome man?
Yeah, well, my first thought is, I am a handsome man. My mom was right. That's actually an interesting one because, okay, so wait, do you mean like purely like the dirty massage parlors or like the legit ones that operate in like broad daylight in the afternoon?
Oh, these could be totally legit. I mean, I think in Thailand sometimes it's hard to tell. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm not talking about a red light district. I'm talking about it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon. You're walking down whatever, Soy 8, Soy 10. There's a bunch of massage parlors around, apparently legitimate massage parlors. And, they tend to want to beckon you over because there's a lot of competition. And I'm assuming that knowing what you look like, I'm certain that you hear handsome man often.
Well, you would not be wrong. Well, it's interesting. It's an interesting one because I'm kind of conflicted on this because on one hand, I hate being like sold to. Like if I want something, I'll get it, and you're not going to change my mind by talking to me in the middle of the street as I'm walking by. Like if I want a suit, I'll get a suit. I'm not going to be walking to my friend's house and go, "Hey, yeah, now's a great time for a fitting," or "I've got 2 hours to spare for no reason." Yeah,
you're not a big fan of like hawkers and like and those kind of people.
No, I know maybe it works for some people, but if I want something, I'll get it, and that's basically it. But the reason I don't like this, I would say I loathe it. But the reason I loathe it is not because they do it; it's how they do it. And I've said this for a long time. These girls, and I guess people in general who are trying to sell something, but specifically for this case, these girls, they need to change their sales pitch. Because, "Hello, handsome man, you want massage?" Like that has gotten so old and so boring and so predictable and so stale. But I'll tell you what, if I'm not a big massage guy, but if I was walking past a massage place and some woman said, "Hey, Big Daddy, how about a massage?" I'd be like, "Wow, that's interesting." Like,
"Hey, Big Daddy,"
or something. Show some creativity or some verve or something like that. Like mix it up a little bit. But I just get so tired of the same like, "Hello, sir, massage," and it's just so lazy and bleh. So I loathe it.
You loathe it. Interesting. It certainly is repetitive, and that whole repetition problem comes up in many cases at shops, just because I think their English is limited. So, but you're right. I got to admit, even though I know it's just it's the most insincere thing ever. It's like you couldn't pick a more unlikely situation for something to be truthful and sincere. You know what I mean?
Right.
It couldn't be less sincere, and I certainly don't believe it when they say it. But I got to admit, it kind of tickles my ego. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am handsome.
I am a handsome boy.
even though I know they're lying, I'll take what I can get. I will take what I can get.
I wouldn't call it a lie, man. I would call it just maybe stretching the truth a little bit, just a little bit.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No, I think it's all in the message, and the reason I think about this a lot is because this is a totally tangential story, but it's sort of related. Back when I was in college, a bunch of friends of mine went up to the Shuswap in sort of central British Columbia and rented a houseboat on a lake, and it was a fantastic time. And it was like a 5-hour drive back to where I live. So as we were driving back through the mountains, just like these deserted mountain roads, we saw a hitchhiker, and he was a young guy. And you just don't pick up hitchhikers. It's just kind of a rule that everyone sort of most people live by these days. But this guy was just standing there very stoically, still. And as we got close enough, he whipped out a sign from behind his back, and it said the name of the nearest town, whatever it was, Salmon Arm or something like that. And he just was like, "Ta-da!" And he had this expression on his face that was so weird. And we just busted out laughing in the van. And if we weren't full of people, we would have stopped and picked him up. So it's how you package your message that really makes the difference.
I see. So essentially, those massage girls need to go to Greg's School of Marketing. You would train them. You would train them up. I really thought
about doing that one time. Like, come to me, I'll teach you like 10 slang sentences to say. Like, a girl steps in front of me and goes, "You look stressed out. You know what would help? A massage, and I'm the person to do it." You know, like, at least they get points for creativity. You know what I mean?
That is true. Interesting. So I guess Greg's a loathe on this, and I guess I'm a love. I got to be honest.
Okay, cool.
So, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we'd like to say thank you to Lars Lindell for lending us his support at the show shout-out level. And Greg, what did you find out about Lars?
Well, as it turns out, Lars is yet another patron who didn't reply to my emails asking him for some information. So I guess we'll just have to make up baseless gossip about him. What do you think of that?
I guess we have no choice.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of research, and it turns out Lars's last name is Lindell. So I looked up the name Lindell, and Lind, check this out, is a Swedish word meaning lime.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, and I went to Ancestry.com, and I searched for his name, Lindell, in Ancestry.com. And turns out that in the U.S., the Lindell name is most popular in Minnesota. And most Lindells were either farmers, teachers, or mariners. So I guess that means sailors, or
I guess, right,
or something like that. Yeah. So I think what happened was because Lars is obviously interested in Thailand. I think Lars was tired of the cold Minnesota winters. Right. Minnesota is close to Canada, right? You have to refresh my memory here.
It is for sure.
Right. So he sailed to Thailand to teach people how to farm limes. That's my theory.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think so. And what's on the funny, if you scroll down to the bottom of the Ancestry page, Lars, check this out. It even has average lifespans of Lindells between 1959 and 2004. They lived to an average age of 77, while the average death between those years is 74. So, yeah, he's got a little bit of extra years on the end there. Maybe it's all the limes that he eats.
For sure. Fruit is healthy. There's no doubt about that.
You know, it's a true story. My son loves limes. He'll chew on half a lime. It's really weird.
That's a good sign. Maybe he's a future vegetarian, dude. You better be careful.
Yeah, maybe he's secretly a Lindell. I'm going to start calling him Little Lindell. Well, thanks, Lars. We appreciate your support. Even though you didn't get back to me, I'll add you to the long list of people who ignore my emails. But that's okay. You give us your money, and we're happy about that.
All right, before we wrap up, I'd like to give a special thanks to all of our lovely patrons. As you know, we don't run ads or have sponsors, so we really, really do appreciate the support we get from our patrons. If you want to learn more, just head to bangkokpodcast.com/support. And if you want to get in touch with us, it's easy. Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We are very polite, and if you write, we will answer.
Yep. You can also find us on the Line Chat app, where we post each episode and carry on conversations with our listeners. You can also reach out to me directly on Twitter, where I'm BKK Greg. So thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you back here next week.
Yep. See you next week. It's just like a little bit of the radio voice, you know.
Well, no one likes hearing their own voice anyway.
Yeah, I hate hearing my voice. I can't stand it.
We're doing the right business then.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. All right, there you go.